I'm talking to Anthony Hughes, a principal out at Christ the King at North Rocks. Two questions, Anthony. The first one is that you've come through 2020 and we're nearly over a third of the way to 2021. If you look back, how did you react as a leader to the challenges of the COVID-19 and had on the school community?
I suppose from the outset, I was just glad to be able to be at school and working. Yeah. And that was important because I knew we had a responsibility. I suppose it made me more resilient. I did use the 10 to 12, 13 years of my principalship experience to really draw down on. I got the opportunity to work very closely with my leadership team. There was a lot of collaborative sort of sessions where we had to think on our feet pretty quickly. And I'm pretty blessed in the sense that I've got a very good leadership team and a staff that are very responsive and open to change. And I suppose I've never been one to turn away from change. I'm always one to get the school involved in pilot programs and that sort of thing. So it was going to be different. But I thought if we're going to do this successfully, we've got to get in from the start. And, yourself and CDP leadership gave us the ability to do what we needed to do to get the learning going.
Yeah. And, can I just interrupt there?
Yep.
So I don't detect any sort of note of fear or in what you said so far.
No, not really. We had a job to do. And I knew that in a bubble at school, we were safe. I suppose I was concerned. There were concerns around the community and the parents. And I knew that my role was to make sure that this happened. I knew I had the staff capabilities. I had the resources. I had the backing from yourself and head office to be able to do whatever we needed to do. And if we made mistakes along the way, it didn't matter. And, when you think about it, there's things that have come out of as ghastly as what the last 12 months was with lockdown and that sort of thing. There's some positives to come out of it as well. But I think it taught me about the fact that change is not a bad thing and that you've got to adapt. And we've been doing that, for years and years. This was just a little bit more quicker than usual. We had to think on our feet and go from there.
That was the second question I was going to ask you. I mean, if you reflect on, last year now, sitting where you are, what have you learned about your leadership? You started to go into that, so maybe if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
I think I've learned that I'm more adaptable to change than I probably was before, and I don't really have a fear of it, and I hope I've instilled that in my leadership team. Here we're pretty much, we don't always agree on everything, but we always leave a meeting or a discussion with some sort of consensus. This is the way we're going to work. I think teachers became better equipped to deal with situations that they were able to think on their feet a lot quicker. And if there was an issue, let's go and talk to colleagues. Let's put the ideas out on the table. Let's discuss them. If they don't work, we go back and we do it again.
I like that idea that you mentioned earlier in your response. You drew down on your 16 years of principalship. What did you draw down? I like that.
Well, I'm pretty happy to back myself. Right. And when you've got a good team around you, and I've been very lucky in the two schools that I've led, I've had a good leadership team and I've been blessed with good staff. And I think, I always say my role is to ensure that it gets done, is to work side by side with teachers. And I did a lot of that in many different ways to what I've done before. I learned a lot about technology because I'm not the best tech person when it comes to technology, but I learned from the younger staff. I got to do, things that I hadn't done before. I did some broadcasts and that sort of thing, which was good. It was a good way of being able to learn from my staff, which was great.
one of the themes that continues through these discussions I'm having with the principals, this concept of learning. I mean, I can't get over how powerful people see that the experience has been to enhance their learning and to be open to learning. And your point that you made, I think, which is well made, is about, if you got it wrong, well, actually, that's about learning. And
we had to think outside the square. We had 3 or 4 days to get organised, and we knew it wasn't going to be perfect. But when we started up, and my role through the open learn through the online learning, I was in contact with parents, dealing with those sort of issues, their concerns, which allowed teachers to be able to be online and working with their students. And it seemed to work. We had a few hiccups along the way, but I think it was a learning experience for everyone and something that we'll benefit from in years to come.
Great. Well, that's probably a good way to finish, Anthony. Thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure, Greg.